And the Confederates are advancing hard everywhere. I haven't done the firing yet. But we've got Slack's forces coming up here now. They can't probably push him out of there. These are just some shotgun troops. They're going to have a good firepower there. 6 strength points going up. But there's 2 shifts against, which isn't going to work well. That puts me back down on the crap table. Plus, I got to take fire first. Over here, I'm charging forward, but I unlimbered some guns, and that's important because that'll begin, you know, an artillery duel here. The question is, why am I bothering with Little Round Top? Or with Round Top? Why am I even bothering with it? Well, it's mainly because I have so many troops to get on the board. Instead of trying to push through this way and go around it, clearing it and taking that good terrain seems important to me towards dominating the road. It might mean, if I do very well, that Herbert's going to cut through that way. Right now, Pike's cutting down across to these cornfields here, which his Indians are probably going to end up facing Osterhaus's troops instead of having an easy route through. But at least it keeps Osterhaus from really putting pressure right here on McIntosh. All right, well, let's see what happens here as we get through the 11 o'clock a.m. turn. More Union forces move up to this Curtis's headquarters. They're going to be heading up to the Round Top. I've got to count on this Dodge's force, which is actually attached to them, holding Van Dorn off at that ridge. It's going to be a tough call to make, but I'd be faster traveling this way, but things aren't going well on the Round Top. And things look here like I'm really causing a lot of disruption to Van Dorn. Now, getting another unit up there might seal Van Dorn's fate as he tries to, you know, he's got a lot of forces, so he can really kind of swarm around the Union lines. But I think that's going to be really painful for him. Whereas over here, well, first of all, we got these troops coming up, and they're going to do their job. But Busey's cav is not holding up well here. There's no way of really marking this in this one. This gun is without a crew. Now the crew is over here. They routed along with some of the cav. We got another cav routing over here that Osterhaus or someone's going to have to try to take care of. He was out of range of his commander, and his commander can only rally 1 unit at a time. It looks to me like the Round Top's going to fall, and there's a lot of threat towards the Leetown area. That's why I'm going to move the army up there, because frankly, this is all pretty much clear area. There's no good terrain there. Is there great terrain here? Not really, but the Round Top is, and if I can hold the Round Top, if I can push a unit of infantry into that area, I can help hold that. I don't think that I can hold that forever, either way that I put things. I think Van Dorn's forces is just too large for anything that I can put up there as a long-term solution. So I wanna protect, you know, my big point areas. Try to make sure that the game doesn't end here with me kind of stuck somewhere here in the fields where I don't want to be. Alright, well, without any reading material on the battle available, I did, however, track down a lecture on actually the whole campaign, and very, very interesting. Van Dorn essentially is there because McCulloch and Price can't get along, and I knew about that. But what I didn't know is what a historical figure McCulloch was at this point. He's you know, a long-time Indian fighter and Mexican war fighter, etc. And something of a hero, went off to California, and all kinds of interesting stories on him. And then Van Dorn's approach to this battle put him in front of Curtis, who is the Union general but isn't represented in the game except perhaps by his headquarters here, who himself is kind of amazing in this campaign. Van Dorn ends up facing this huge defensive work on Pea Ridge. and cuts around it and gets behind Curtis's army. And Curtis about faces his army and marches up and meets Van Dorn here. Now Van Dorn has charged forward without enough food, etc., without enough ammo, and that might explain both. Well, that certainly explains the differential on the ammo depletion, but it also probably explains the lower quality troops that most of the Confederate forces have. Hey, been without food for a couple of days here. And the weather is also not very good. You'd be surprised, but we've got, what is it, March 7th through 8th, but this march has been through a winter storm that came throughout the mountains. Now, as to Curtis, one of the reasons he was able to operate so well, he found himself a quartermaster. And in fact, this is kind of the rise of this man into higher command. Phil Sheridan. I didn't know that at all. Anyway, I guess we'll kick off into this 11:30 turn and see where we get with that. And then it's probably time for bed. We'll have natural light tomorrow. Well, this was a very good turn for the rebels. They pretty much cleared the round top, grabbed the guns here with a lucky, they needed a 1 or a 2 to even march up, even against empty guns as far as I can see. And you've got the cav being pushed aside. The Union's going to have a hard job. They don't want to assault the round top, that's for certain, so they're going to probably try to defend along here. But over here, it didn't go any better either. Slack ended up charging in and driving the 24th Missouri away. He survived the attack, captured 100 troops, killed 100 more. He's got the rest of his force, didn't even follow him in. But that's really beginning to collapse as well, and I think it's quite likely the Union is going to just have to pull out there if they can't push Slack back immediately. They're going to try, I think, with Dodge to push back and hold that line, but you can see, I mean, Price's troops are advancing along the line. He's not going to be able to hold the creek there. And as we move to the noon turn, you can see the Union trying to take up a position here with Grusel's units, and they fired some artillery at Pike's Indians. He didn't drive them off, actually. Back here, the Cav rallying, and here as well, trying to get itself back here when it gets a chance, but right now it doesn't have that chance. So it's holding the best ground it can. It may be in danger coming around there. I decided to send Carr and Vandiver down, actually north, up here, to face that area, because I think that's actually the more frightening thing. Here, I feel like with my artillery, my infantry, if I can get the Cav back, maybe send the next unit up that way. A couple of independents coming up soon. I might be able to hold that more easily. Leetown's more valuable than over here at the tavern. But if I can hold all the locations and repulse the Confederates and not lose territory, I think I've got a pretty good chance of getting that 3-2 odds in the victory point table. Of course, there's a lot of time left for the Confederates to advance, but I will be trickling troops in. If I can hold them here, if I can keep them out of that, keep that field line there, things look much, much better. Of course, I think maybe I'm taking too big a risk here. Maybe I should just surrender this and pull back, but I don't know. Somehow I like taking risks. Anyway, these Colt repeaters, damn, they're good in this game. 5 times value at range 1. They just drove away Slack's unit there, and it's gonna be tough to assault the Union units here. We've got artillery set up just to give them a nice big surprise if they come up, and I got a lot of artillery here to set up. Be kind of nice to set it up here or in the fields here, but it works great defensively. If I can control these choke points, that'll work pretty well. Still having a hard time getting Price and Van Dorn on the map over there at all. Alright, well that's it for tonight. Okay, into the Confederate side of the turn, and we had them marching up and taking the round top here, but these Colt repeaters did a lot of damage. Drove back and I forgot to rally. Kind of broke up the line a little bit, sending more units back than were actually engaged, but drove back a couple of McIntosh's forces there, and couldn't get the impetus to march up the hill. Remember the Confederate restrictions on melee. I'm using these artillery as kind of a screen for the Indians, and they're involved in an artillery duel right now. I'm going to send the Indians through the woods. Honestly, I don't think they're very useful. They certainly can't attack across an empty field where there is artillery firing. Their morale's so bad anyway. I don't want to get them engaged in normal combat. Speaking about bad morale, we got some really bad morale over here. Slack's units got knocked off the hill there. But we're really beginning to see the mass of the Confederate forces that's in place. And I don't know how likely it is to hold this terrain. One of the interesting things, good terrain in the sense of woods and the wooded terrain, that actually presents a problem for the Union because they've got rifle-armed troops for the most part, whereas the Confederates are almost exclusively smoothbore. Range, big difference. And effectiveness at anything other than 1 hex is a big difference. If you look at the rifled troops, they go 2-1-1. The smoothbore 2 to 1/2. That's the multiplier at the distance. And you know, when you're looking at the Colt repeaters or something, they're just awesome no matter what. And then you also have Confederate shotgun troops thrown in here, which whatever they do, they're 1 hex units. So the Confederates kind of like this rough terrain, even if it means giving an advantage to the Union. They can throw. They get a better odds on their approach, to tell you the truth. Okay, well, on to the Union side. One thing I forgot to mention, we got Little's replacement in play now, finally. That's a painful role and can really cause some problems. I think the Confederates are facing a lot of difficulties in this battle with the special rules. Their ammo depletion being different, the leader loss being different. It's an interesting situation. Well, Union Cav trying to pull its way off the round top, position itself where it's useful. These independent Cav moving up. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them. I probably took a wrong turn there. I was going to place them in the woods. That seems good, but I think it's better if I slide them up and put them in the field where those repeaters are more valuable. I get the pistol troops in there. I've got these Cav in the woods too, so you know, something's got to kind of hold this center, and that's the problem. I don't have a lot of choices in terms of weapons. The artillery duel keeps going, and we saw one of the disadvantages to pulling Pike's men off the cannons and putting them behind. One of these artillery pieces got its crew shot by small arms fire, and that isn't a good thing. Now it's half strength, the crew's routed away, can't fire. Of course, using Pike's Indians to try to screen the artillery in that way would just end up with them running off the artillery. But at least it wouldn't be exposed. I've got to get Heber's guys into place on top of that artillery to help protect him. And that'll be next turn, really. Over here, things are a little bit, well, the poor quality of the Missouri State Guard troops. We see them flung back here by these rifles. These guys got pinned by Confederate fire, though, so not everything has to make the check. A lot of the troops on the defensive fire are able to, you know, perhaps pin or rout the enemy. Well, the problem is next turn they're up on the line and they take first shot. So we could well see that whole Confederate line break again. It's an ugly situation for them, and I think the Union might actually be able to hold this terrain, which would be a big, big thing, because if they can hold here and they can hold here, basically it means the Confederates get no terrain points whatsoever. I don't think they can hold both. I think this is going to fall. there's just, there's no good terrain there to hold. And then it becomes a matter of trying to keep them from here, because that would be the game by the end of the day. Oh, I might as well mention it's going up. That's the end of the noon turn, and I've got some spaghetti squash I'm cooking.